In the world of finance, the media, the financial planners will always profit the most when you are scared. And RMDs, 99% of the time, are just another micro detail talking point used to scare you, build their own authority, and ultimately convince you to get their help. And today I'm going to prove that. Whether it's Trump's tariffs, healthcare changes, government shutdowns, in finance, in politics, you are expected to be scared. So much so that when you're not, it kind of catches people off guard. You didn't see the headline? Did you see that Tucker Carlson said no? Well, wow, scary times we're in. And the reality is, with these things, it's almost always something so minuscule in the grand scheme of things that it doesn't matter. With RMDs, for the 0.8% that have north of $3 million in retirement, maybe not, but for the rest, it's no different. My name's Daniel McCluskey, and I help families bring peace to their finances so they can focus on what matters most, not stupid stuff. And after running through hundreds of retirement scenarios, what I've certainly learned is this RMD hysteria has far more to do with industry incentives than it does with the actual math. So here's what we're going to cover. First, what RMDs actually are and what they are not, contrary to what you may have been told. Second, what the real effects of RMDs are on your portfolio, your life, versus the tax bomb, quote unquote, that they're often categorized as. And finally, what are the few real considerations that actually deserve some attention? Because they aren't nothing, they're just not what they're made out to be. Let's get into it. So required minimum distributions are just withdrawals from your tax-deferred accounts. They're not a penalty. They're simply the government saying, okay, you've deferred your taxes long enough in your 401k or IRA. Now you need to start withdrawing some of your own money. That's it. When you then withdraw that money from your tax-deferred accounts, because you have never paid any taxes on it, you must now pay taxes. And just like any other manual withdrawal, not necessarily one that's forced, like an RMD, this now increases your total taxable income, which of course will have effects, such as raising how much of your Social Security may be taxable, causing you to owe more healthcare premiums, etc. It's important to keep in mind, however, you are always going to pay taxes on this money. It's just that if you were trying to optimize completely getting your income to an exact amount to make your taxes a little bit lower, keep your healthcare premiums a little bit lower, it may make that a bit more difficult. Nothing is exploding, nothing is being confiscated. Your income is just now higher than it was before. You will now have more money in the bank to either spend or reinvest elsewhere once the changes are said and done. So worst case, you do absolutely nothing to try and optimize these and never think about them ever again, and your net disposable income rises, your projected end-of-life net worth drops by a few percentage points, and you go on with your life. Now, secondly, that may sound a little different from the massive effects people attribute to RMDs. You'll hear things like the tax bomb is going to go off. Your Medicare premiums are going to skyrocket. This could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And technically, yes, RMDs can increase your taxable income. They can nudge Medicare premiums higher. They can cause a greater portion of Social Security to be taxable. But here's what almost never gets translated. In real life, for most retirees, this amounts to incremental costs, not life-changing ones. If your taxes and Medicare premiums rise by, let's say, $12,000 a year, let's say in exchange for an additional income, but that $12,000 equates to 1% of your entire net worth lowering, you'll be okay. I had a client just this past year who was worried about what RMDs might do to his retirement once he gets to that point, and the effects that those may have. But once we ran his numbers through retirement software and saw with zero RMD optimization, that means just kind of leaving things exactly as is, that he would have had a 97% probability of success of never running out of money and accomplishing his goals. He had no business being worried about that. There will be no crisis. It's not a derailment. He just now has more line items that he needs to calmly address. Now, could you or should you optimize around them? Sure. But still, this is where people fall into another trap. You often hear claims like, we could save you $50,000 or $100,000 over your lifetime in taxes by eliminating RMDs. And that sounds huge, but first, over a 25 or 30-year retirement, that often translates to a few $1,000s a year, sometimes less, and usually comes with trade-offs. And second, this is the most important, saving the maximum amount of tax is not the same thing as maximizing your retirement. This is the same mistake people make with Social Security. So often if you look at a break-even calculator, for example, and you just delay until age 70, you are going to see no matter what, if you have a lifespan of let's say 90, that from the Social Security Administration, you are going to receive more money over the course of your life. But maximizing Social Security and getting the most amount from the Social Security Administration does not necessarily mean you are getting the most amount out of your entire retirement, that you're going to have the highest income, that you're going to leave the most behind. So if getting the most from Social Security means you'd have a lower income in retirement, or it means you would leave less money behind to your heirs, or both, which happens all the time, do you want to maximize Social Security? In that case, no, you want to optimize your retirement. So same thing with the taxes. If you can save $100,000 over your life in tax and everything else is the same, well then great, go ahead and do that. But that's almost never the case. So finally, when do RMDs actually deserve attention and what can you do about it? In general, for large $3 million plus pre-tax balances, that's where you're maybe going to have an RMD problem. If that's not you, you can still leverage things like QCDs, partial/small conversions over time, blended withdrawals, meaning you're pulling from different accounts to keep that income a little bit lower, and more. And I'll just state this again, this mostly applies to households with high retirement balances. For retirees under that $3 million mark, RMDs simply don't rise to a level of being a major problem. So anticipate, after watching this video and on, for you to always be encouraged to be scared, so that financial media gets more attention, so that financial planners get more clients. But what's the truth? If you're dealing with RMDs, take some steps to optimize them, don't panic, and really praise God because you're doing well. All that said, if you would like to take a quick look at how we help our clients not run in circles panicking about things they don't need to be worrying about, like RMDs, click the first link in the description below this video or scan the QR code on screen now if you're watching on a TV to go to our website, go through that, our process, our story, how we work together with clients. It's all on there, and schedule an initial conversation on the Get Started page. I'll see you there.